And greetings YouTube gamers, welcome to another episode of Retro Raider. My name is Johnny Retro and welcome to the channel. So today I'm here to talk about a game that needs no introduction, and that game is The Prince of Persia. This game was a huge hit back in the day. It got a lot of ports to, ZX Spectrum, Atari, Commodore, and of course the home consoles NES, Mega Drive, Sega CD, and the Super Nintendo. But first let me tell you how I got into this game. So way back into my childhood, I actually went to a Christian school, and I think you can still tell that by my personality, because it's something that shines through me. Yeah, but I'll leave that topic to another video. So back in the day we had computer classes in school, and we had these old PCs with Windows 95 installed, if I'm not mistaken. And there were a bunch of DOS games installed, which of course we were not allowed to play. But of course that Johnny here would shit on the class when no one was watching, which got me into a lot of troubles actually. And the game that I used to play the most was Prince of Persia, but it was a completely different version from this one. It was actually very similar to the original one, which was released to the Apple II. But the version that I'm going to bring you today is the Super Nintendo one, which, to be honest with you, I think it's the best. So let's jump into the review right after this.
Prince of Persia is a video game franchise created by Jordan Mechner, originally developed and published by Brotherbound, then the Learning Company, and the current releases of the series are published by Ubisoft. The first game of the series, entitled The Prince, was released in 1989 for the Apple II. The premise of the game is very simple. You play as a prince who escapes his prison and must venture through a series of dungeons to defeat the Grand Vizier Wizard Jafar and save the imprisoned princess, who is the only obstacle between Jafar and the throne. The game was heavily influenced by tales like the Arabian Nights and Aladdin, and you can see that from the very start of the game, from the artwork, the music, which truly resembles the ancient Persia. The Super Nintendo version follows the same principles as the Apple II one, but with better graphics, music, and more levels to go through. Although the original release was already hard enough, the SNES version it's much harder. You have 2 hours to beat the game, 2 real-time hours, and you're going to die a lot while the clock is ticking. Persistency and patience are key to beat this game. There are tons of action platformers from this time period, but what makes Prince of Persia stands out among others is the mechanics used, the gameplay, and the actual controls. From the moment you push the first button while playing, you'll notice how incredible the controls are. The creator of the game captured the movements of his brother to mimic the prince's movements, then he rotoscoped it to animations, which gives the player a very realistic sense of movement. You feel like you're moving a real person, you need to build up speed to jump, and you even need to compensate for stopping. There is a purpose for the delay on the controls. The way you jump, dodge, crawl, and walk, it feels very realistic. So during the entire game, you really need to be careful to not falling into pits and avoid traps. Moving fast will cause you to die, same thing if you're moving too slow, so there is a realistic balance which makes the game even more immersive, and the tension it provides only improves the game's atmosphere. You start the game with no weapons, and as soon as you get the sword, you're introduced to combat. Combat uses very basic mechanics in Prince of Persia. You attack and you block, but isn't as easy as it looks. There are no patterns like in most games, so it's all about skill and awareness of your foes. The game's difficulty progressively turns harder along the way. Within each level you get introduced to new obstacles, traps, and stronger foes. You're going to have a hard time pretty much from the beginning of each level. Although you only have 2 hours to beat the game, at the end of each level you're provided with a password, which lets you continue from the last level you played. So you technically can beat the game in more than 2 real-time hours, and after dying dozens of times on each level, you're going to start to memorize the patterns of the traps, tight your jumps, and become better at combat, so obstacles that took you 10 minutes to overcome will be very doable within a couple of seconds after some time learning them, and that's what keeps you going with this game. Prince of Persia is not the best good-looking game on the Super Nintendo, but it's a masterpiece of its own in my opinion. It's just one of those games that really makes you feel that you accomplished something after you beat it, and for me, that is what it's all about.
Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know in the comment section below what is your favorite port of the original Prince of Persia. Don't forget to put a like on this video, please subscribe to the channel, and take care of yourselves, take care of the gaming community, and game a lot.